Okay, just give me a second. Give me a little second. We're going to begin in a matter of seconds. All right, wonderful. Now let's begin. Okay. Good evening, dear students, and welcome to this new class. I am very excited today because we're going to begin with a new section of the TOEFL exam, and it's always exciting to move on, right? To turn on the, or excuse me, turn over the page and to move on, because sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming, and it puts a lot of pressure on you, right? To practice just one section. But nonetheless, if you are always practicing for a variety of things, you practice for the writing, for the speaking, for all the sections, you always find it very, very interesting, very exciting, and always it offers you entertainment somehow. Okay, so today we're going to continue with the writing section. We're going to get into all the different tasks you're going to find in this section, all the different hacks I have for you, all the different tips, things you have to do, things you don't have to do, what format to follow in order to write down your essay, everything. Okay, so we're going to get into the essentials and the specifics of the writing section. Okay, so join me in this excursus, and let's go to it. So just let me open here my presentation. Let's go. Sorry, Bolivia. Okay, let's go. Okay, wonderful. Let's go. So, TOEFL writing section. Let's go. Let's begin. So, as you can see here, there are two different tasks in this writing section. Okay. The first task is the integrated essay. Okay, it's the integrated essay. I want to give you some generals, okay, before we begin. This section, the writing section, is going to last approximately 50 minutes, okay? It has two different sections, or it has two different subdivisions, let's say, tasks, however you want to name them. And they somehow imitate the model or the structure that we have been following in the speaking section, okay? So it's not going to be something super new to you. Now, let me tell you, for example, that for this section, there's something super important. You have to practice at home, excuse me, and you have to practice in your office or whatever you're going to have the chance to practice for this section with an American keyboard, okay? The American keyboard, it's different to the Spanish and Latin American keyboard because some of the keys there, some of the letters are located in a different position. So you have to be aware of those different positions and how to do, for example, some grammatical and some language signs, for example, comma, period, parenthesis, everything, right? You have to know how to type those specific signs in an American keyboard, because wherever you go in any test center where you're going to take this exam, they are going to use an American keyboard in order for you to write down everything in this section. Okay, so first recommendation, get rid of the American keyboard, excuse me, of the Spanish keyboard, of the Latin American keyboard, and try to practice and try to write down with the American keyboard, excuse me, from now on, in order for you to get used to it, okay? Because it takes a time in order for you to locate, especially the sign, okay, the signs, the grammatical, excuse me, the grammar, the grammar signs, and the you know, the literary signs. That is a little bit difficult, okay? First thing. Now let's move on. The first task, okay, the first task of the writing part, excuse me, or the writing section, is the integrated essay. Okay, that is the name or the title of this task. In this first task, you will have 3 minutes to read a passage. Okay, you may take notes if you wish. Then you will listen to an academic talk on the same subject. You should take notes while you listen. You will then hear and read a question that asks about the relationship between the text and the talk. I know that right now in your minds, there is some lights turning on right now, right? Because this is exactly what we have been doing in the speaking section. You remember, for example, that the second, the third, and the fourth tasks were also called integrated tasks, right? Why? Because of two reasons, mainly. First of all, because they ask you to combine a lot of different skills in this language for you to respond to the final question. It was integrated in that sense, right? Because we were integrating a lot of our abilities, our reading, our speaking, and in the case of, well, in the case of our speaking section, our speaking, our reading, our listening. That is going to be the case for this specific section too. Of course, we're going to get rid of the speaking part, but we are going to write in this case. Okay, so the second reason why this is the second reason why this is an integrated essay is because, as I say, you're going to receive two materials. You're going to receive a reading passage and you're going to receive a listening passage. And in this case, you have to compare, for example, this one to the third task of the speaking section. Why? Because both materials, both items, the ones you're going to receive, they are not about university settings or university scenarios. They are about academic subjects. That is to say, you're going to receive a reading passage about history, biology, any of the natural sciences, any of the social sciences, maybe about art, technology, whatever, right? But it's not going to be about any experience nor something that could happen in the day-to-day life. No, it's going to be about something that could be listened to in a class, okay? Within the class, within the classroom, it's going to be a lecture, okay? In the case of the listening part, and in the reading part, you're going to receive something like an article, okay? A research paper, a research summary. That is going to happen, okay? In this case, of course, you're not going to have just a matter of seconds in order to read the reading passage. No, for this case, you're going to have 3 minutes to read the passage. And maybe you're already thinking or postulating some reasons why you have more time. Obviously, because in this case, the passage is going to be larger, okay? The passage is going to be more complicated. It's not going to be a super little extract. No, it's going to be a larger passage. It's going to be about, as I say, maybe this could be a research summary, it could be an article, but this is going to be larger, okay? So be prepared for that. You're going to have 3 minutes to read the passage, okay? So in this case, something very good and something very important too. What? That in this case, as you can see, for example, here, I have a picture of the screen, or how your screen is going to look like whenever you are in the actual exam. The good part of this writing task, specifically for the first task, the integrated one, is that you're going to have 3 minutes to read your passage. True, but nonetheless, after you listen to your lecture, you are also going to be able to read it again, because while you have the 20 minutes in order for you to write down your essay, as you can see here on the left side of my screen, you are still going to have the reading passage available. You're going to be able to read it as much as you can. Okay, good part, sure. But nonetheless, would that be a reason, or should that be a reason for you to sense relief for you to relax? No, I don't think so. Why? Because remind, in this case, you're going to try to write down an essay that is going to be required to have at least 150 words. And you're going to have 20 minutes to do so. So you shouldn't be spending the whole time in reading and reading and reading again the reading passage in order for you to understand it. No, you should just use, you should just use the 30 minutes, the 3 minutes you have at the beginning in order to read the passage, and not to read it again and again and again when you are writing down your essay and you have 20 minutes to do it. Okay, but take that into consideration. Now, for example, what else? You have 20 minutes to write down your response essay. As I say, after you have read your passage, of 3 minutes to read it. After you have listened to your lecture, there is going to be about 2 minutes. That is not going to arrive, by the way. You may use your notes to help you write your response, and the passage is made available again for you to reference as well. As I say, you're going to be able to read the reading passage again. You're going to have it there on your screen. Okay. If you finish early, you may click on next to go on to the second task. Okay. So I want you to look at my screen. For example, here in the image that I have here on the left side, there is a button of next, right at the top of the screen. Next is a button that you can press whenever you want in order to move on to the other essay or to the second task. If you have finished, for example, your essay before the 20 minutes you have as a maximum, and you want to move on and go directly to the second one, you can use it. Okay, that is the use for this button here, the button of next. Okay. By the way, you cannot go back to the first question in the writing section once you have proceeded to the second one. Okay, that is in the case you're going to use the button of next. Okay, if you don't want to use it, if you and you want to use the entireness of your 20 minutes to write down your essay, cool, you can do it. Okay. Now, I have some recommendations for you. Okay. Now, first of all, let's look at my screen again. Why do you think that I again decided to put the picture of a journalist here? Because as I say, this is super similar to the third task of the speaking section. You're going to be required to do what? To be like a journalist. Why? Because you're going to, again, collect information from your sources, you're going to take your notes, and you're going to, in this case, you're not going to express orally or speaking what is the information that you have found. No, you're going to now write something, that is to say, you're going to write an essay in order to express and convey everything you have managed to gather. Okay. So again, don't give your opinion, don't add any sort of external information to your essay. No, this is not the moment to do so. You're going to do that in the second task, that is to say, in the personal one, in the independent one. But for this one, that remind, it is the integrated essay. You're going to be like a journalist. Again, assume the role of a journalist. Okay, don't give your opinion. Try to be as objective as you can. That is actually my first recommendation. Be as objective as you can. It is not the time to express your opinion on the subject. 2, it is not necessary, by the way, to have your essay written perfectly as you go about writing it. You can write as good as you can and reserve you 5 to 7 minutes to check it out and review it before you submit it. What do I mean by this? For example, I met some people because when I was in 2021, when I had the chance to be a scholar from the embassy, I had to take this exam, the TOEFL one, with more guys. I mean, we were like 4 representatives from Santa Cruz, from Bolivia, and we always had practices together, right? We were somehow we were somehow like mates, like we were I don't know, we were like not only friends, but we were also like colleagues. I don't know how to describe it, but the point is that we were doing everything together. And I noticed that when they were writing down their essays, they always try to write it down or to write them down perfectly. That is to say, if they were writing down, for example, I don't know, the subject talked about history, and if they, for example, committed a mistake or an error in the writing of the word, I don't know, history, they stopped writing down the essay and they began to correct it. They erased the word and they wrote it again. And I experienced at the end, right, when we finished our exam and when we finished the program, that the people who were doing that did not perform as good as the people who wrote down the entire essay and let or reserve a matter of 5 to 7 minutes at the end of those 20 minutes you have in order to write down your essay to check everything out and to correct at that point. Okay, so my suggestion here, my recommendation would be write down everything. Remember that you're expected to write down at least 150 words, and it's going to be awesome if for this particular essay you're able to write down 225 words or more. Okay, so write down your entire essay with all the errors you may have. Reserve to you 5 to 7 minutes at the end of those 20 minutes, and then check everything out and then correct it. Because if you're going to go about writing your essay and stopping at every single point you make a mistake, you're going to, first of all, you're going to lose your reasoning train. You're going to get nervous. You're going to get obsessed with your errors, and that is not going to be advantageous. So try to do this, okay? Don't go stopping while you're writing down your essay. Try to reserve, as I say, these 5 to 7 final minutes to do that, to check it out, to review it, to correct, okay? Important. Third, it is way better if you do not use contractions in this essay. Pay attention to that. I repeat, it is way better if you do not use contractions in this essay. After all, you are looking for having written as many words as you can, right? Therefore, avoiding contractions will give you some extra words. That is obvious, right? So, and not only because of that, remind that in the basics of English, it is stated that if you are writing with contractions, that is not only impolite if you're writing down for something as serious as the TOEFL exam is, but it is less professional. Okay, so remind that you are trying to demonstrate here that you're somebody who is proficient, who is able to write down papers and essays in a university level. So imagine, for example, you're accepted at Harvard if you're applying to Harvard, and you go to Harvard and for the for assignments given at Harvard, you begin to write down your essays with contractions. That doesn't make sense at all. So you have to be as professional and as polite as you can. So not only for that, you should try to avoid contractions, but because you want to, of course, increment and increase the level, or excuse me, the quantity of words you are writing. And if you're looking for a word to have at least 150 words, and even better if they are more than 225 words, then don't use contractions, of course, because by using contractions, you are somehow harming yourself, because you're not going to write as much words as you would if you were to write down in the normal way, that is to say, with complete sentences. Okay. Now, fourth recommendation: if you're capable, try to write the fanciest you can and include as much advanced words as it is possible to you. Okay, this will help you to make an impression of professionality to your reviewer. I'm going to close this for a while, and I'm going to move on here to a document. Okay, because I want to illustrate you the following. Okay, let me show you this. Follow me. For example, okay. For example, how could you say, let's say that you're describing, I don't know, the French Revolution. How could you say that the ideals or the subjects that were implemented in the French Revolution were great? Or that those, I don't know, that those new topics and new worldviews and new concepts were very good, were great? How could you say that? You could say something like the principles, I don't know, presented in the French Revolution, the French Revolution were great. You could say something like that, right? But nonetheless, if you write down something like the same sentence, but if you change, for example, this word here, let me show you. Rather than saying great, you write down something like, let's say, Okay, here. Rather than writing down this, if you, for example, use this, illustrious, wouldn't you say that this word here, if you write it down instead of great, somehow conveys a sense of professionality, of scholarship, erudición, proficiency? Tell me, I mean, look at the sentences. This is super basic, right? I mean, great. It's an adjective that even a child who is learning English in his first week could say, oh, that's great. But if you say illustrious, doesn't this sound good in itself? Obviously it does. But if a reviewer that knows that you are not a native speaker in this language reads your essay, the one that you're presenting for this section, and finds a word like this, an advanced word, something that seems fancy, he is going to consider that you have a very good level in English. And that is going to give him a predisposition to give you a higher score and to maybe forgive you some mistakes. Because if it's going to say, oh, well, this happens to genius too, if you make some mistake, okay? So try to write as fancy as you can, okay? As fancy as you can, all right? Wonderful, let's move on. Now, try to write a bit more content related to the lecture than the reading passage. This is the same principle that I was also repeating to you throughout our excursus on the writing section, excuse me, on the speaking section, because I always convey to you that the listening part is not able to, excuse me, it's not available for you to listen to it again, okay? It is exactly the same case again for this particular section. In the writing section for the first task, as I was saying, you're going to be able to, again, read the reading passage whenever you want because you're going to have it available there on your screen. Nonetheless, the listening passage, the lecture you're going to listen to, you're just going to listen to it once. After that, it's impossible for you to listen to it again. So if you write down, for example, more content related to the lecture than the reading passage, what does that show? It shows, of course, that you are somebody who is able to integrate its knowledge. To take, for example, something that is super easily accessible as the reading passage, and to combine it with something that was more difficult to understand and to remind as the listening part. Okay, so try to write down, if you're going to write down and emphasize on any part of the essay about something, try to emphasize on the lecture or on the item subject, excuse me, on the listening item, okay? Try to do that. So those are my recommendations for you. So now it's your turn. We're going to practice, but before that, of course, I have a template for you to follow and to practice with me, okay? But nevertheless, I want to ask, for example, is there any question? Any question about this? Any clarification? Maybe you want some console? Everything they could help you with? Jumping with regard to this? Oh, okay, wonderful. It's fine. So now, let me show you the following then. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing for a while.
Sure.
Yes, somebody had a question?
Not exactly, but I really entered recently, so I don't know if I lose something important. Then you can repeat, please.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm going to repeat the most important information. Just give me a second. Yeah, continue.
Yes, just 10 minutes, 7 forward.
Okay, don't worry. Yes, of course, I'm going to repeat. Don't worry. Just give me a second. I'm looking for some templates I have here. Okay, these two. Want to be here. Now, let's go. Okay, so as Laura was mentioning, for example, what is the important thing about here? Okay, we are in the writing section. This is the integrated part. This is the integrated task. what you're going to do is basically you're going to receive a reading passage about an academic subject. Later, you're going to receive a lecture on that specific subject too. And what you have to do in your essay, again, is to be like a journalist. You're going to receive both sources of information. You're going to collect information. You're going to take your notes on those materials. And in your essay, you're going to have to write down an essay in 20 minutes with at least 150 words summarizing those materials you have received. If you can write something like 225 words, way better. And if you write something even larger than that, great. Okay, so you're going to have 20 minutes to write down that essay. And my recommendations, the general ones are try to be objective. As I said, you're not required to give your opinion here about the subject, but to be as a journalist, again, right? Collecting information, writing notes, conveying, okay? Try to always reserve to you 5 to 7 minutes at the end of your time, because you have 20 minutes to write down your essay, right? Try to reserve to you 5 to 7 minutes at the end to check it out, to review it, in order to look for some sort of grammar mistake, any word that you didn't write correctly. But reserve to you those 5 to 7 minutes. That is to say, don't go about writing it and stopping at every single point you make a mistake. Don't do that. Okay, try to, as I say, write down everything and reserve to you 5 to 7 final minutes to correct it, to check it out. It's going to be okay. Now, don't use contractions. That shows that you are not somebody who's polite, not professional. Don't use contractions, and also because you want to have as much words or as many words as you can, right? So given that you want to have as many words as you can, you're going to, of course, prefer to write down in the normal and complete tense, and also in the normal and complete shape of the sentences, so that you can, of course, have many words, right? Or if you are capable, try to include advanced words, fancy words. Try to don't try to avoid expressions that are super common, super basic words. Try to include advanced vocabulary whenever you want and whenever you can. And finally, try to write down a little bit more about the listening part. That is to say, the lecture that you're going to receive on the academic subject. Try to write down more words with regard to the information presented in that material, okay, rather than in the reading passage. Is it clear, Laura?
Totally. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So let's move on now. So now, dear students, I want to show you what is. Oh, Carlos, please.
Teacher, I have a question. In this section, I mean, when we are writing or typing, and are we gonna have the option to see if the word is well written? I mean, as we have in Office, in Word.
Yeah,
I mean,
a word counter, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we write the word wrong, it's gonna show us the how we can write in a good way.
Oh no, no. Okay,
no?
Let me show you. For example, that's no. That part specifically no. That characteristic no. What is going to happen is that you are going to have a counter. That is to say, a word counter. As you can see here, for example, there is a part that says high word counter. Some people prefer not to see how many words they're writing down because they concentrate more on that. But you're going to be able to see, as you are writing, how many words have you written until that point. That is going to happen. Okay, you're going to have that counter. But now, with regard to grammar mistakes or to spelling mistakes, whatever, you're not going to be able to see, or there's not going to be anything here, for example, as it happens in Word, right? That whenever you write down something incorrectly, Word automatically highlights that word, right, with red. Not going to happen. All the information or all the words you're going to write down and type here are going to be normal. That is to say, there's not going to be any sign or any indication if you're writing it correctly or if you're writing it incorrectly. No, it's just going to be neutral and normal writing, okay? So be prepared for that. Try to disconnect, for example, when you're practicing for this section, that option word to warn you whenever you are writing down incorrectly, because if you are always, trusting in that rather than in your own knowledge of the words, you are going to harm yourself for the exam. So in order to respond, no, there's not going to be that option. But yes, with the word counter, you're going to have the option to see how many words you're writing down as you are writing.
Thank you, teacher.
All right, wonderful, Carlos. Don't worry. So let's continue. I was about to show you, I have here a template that you're going to follow in order to write down this essay. Okay, so let me send this to our WhatsApp group too. I want to make sure that I'm sending this to your, okay. Let me, okay. Here, I think this is the one, right? Or this is not the one. Let me check it out so that I'm not sending and running this one. Yeah, wonderful. This is the one. Yes, wonderful. So I'm going to send this to your groups. Here's for the 26, and here, this is for you. Okay, so please receive the templates, open them if you are able to do so. If you're on your computer, please open them and follow me, okay? Because I'm gonna teach you how to use this template, because you should write down your responses in the following way, okay? So let me show you. So for this matter, I am using here a topic that goes as follows, okay? So we are going to imagine that we have received a reading passage, okay? Imagine this. We have received a reading passage that says that in-person classes, okay? That in-person classes, let me show you here, that in-person classes are better than online classes, okay? Let's suppose I don't have any passage here because this is like ad hoc question, okay? But let's say, imagine that in the reading passage, we have been presented an article that says that it argues for a lot of reasons that in-person classes are better than online classes. And imagine that the listening passage, the lecture and the audio said that online classes are actually better than in-person classes. Okay, imagine that. We have two lectures here, or excuse me, two materials here contradicting each other, okay? The first one, the reading passage says that in-person classes are better than online classes, and the lecture says that in-person classes are not better than online classes, but online classes are better, okay? Imagine that. I'm sorry, there's for a festival near my house. I guess you listen to that. Okay, don't worry. So, as I was saying, imagine that is the case, and now let's see how you should write down your essay, okay? Oh, also, I want to send something else to you before we begin this. Let me show you. There's something else I want you to have, and it's actually here. Okay, now let me show you this, for example, before we get into this. I want you to also go to our website, okay, to Executive English. There's a material I want you to look for there, okay? Executive English Education. I want you to go to our website, okay? And in our website, I want you to go to Simulation TOEFL. I think it's here. No, it's here in Apoyo Académico. I want you to go there, and you have to go to Guiones TOEFL. And what? I want you to download these two specific materials. Guiones Writing, Pregunta 1 y Pregunta 2. These are the templates for both essays you're going to have to write down in this section without any editing, because I have edited them, okay? So I want you to go and download them. As you can see, I am downloading them right now. I mean, I'm going to download them for you, and I'm just going to send them to your groups, so don't worry. Okay, fine. Now, here you have, let me show you. Okay, so the first one, here you have for you, and for you, also here you have. Okay, so now you have both materials. Okay, that is what I want. Okay, now try to open, in this case, the first one. You're going to notice that here is the template without any edits, because I have edited them with an example for you to understand. But this is basically what you have to do, okay? You're going to have, first of all, an introduction, okay? Just let me also here edit it. Introduction, okay? You're going to have a body, as in all the essays, right? Introduction, body, and of course, a conclusion. Conclusion. All right, wonderful. So as you can see, what is happening here? The template that you have to follow is this one. You're going to have an introduction. And in that introduction, what are you going to do? Well, it is not a surprise for you. Why? Because it is going to be exactly the same that we have been doing in our speaking tasks. If you remind, in the speaking tasks, what we did first when we were in our integrated tasks 2 was to begin always the response by simply summarizing the content of the reading passage and the listening passage, right? That is exactly what we're going to do here. For example, let me show you this. You're going to write down something that the reading extract or the reading passage, notice that extract means passage, right? It's the same. The reading passage, but for example, notice that this is an advanced word, right? It is not the same passage. So try to include this type of words, okay? That is what it was recommending you. So, for example, the reading extract leads off with, and here you will have to complement with what? With the general idea of the, general idea of the reading passage. The reading extract leads off with the general idea of the reading passage, and then you would say, right, now let me show you how I did it with the topic that I proposed to you. Read this. The reading passage, I just changed the word extract, right, for comfort. So the reading passage leads off with the premise that in-person classes are better than online classes. You can see I'm doing exactly this here. The reading extract leads off with, and in our topic, I am demonstrating you with a practical example. The reading passage leads off with the premise that in-person classes are better than online classes. All right, as you can see. Now, what happens then? It says, nonetheless, sin embargo, right? In the lecture, it is said that, as you can see, you are contrasting. You are making an opposition of both materials, right? Nonetheless, in the lecture, it is said that. Now, let me show you the example here. Nonetheless, in the lecture, it is said that online classes actually offer a better experience for students around the world. As you can see, I am using exactly the same wording here. I'm going to highlight it with green. Wonderful. That's it, right? As you can see, that is the introduction you have to make. No more than that. You simply have to state and summarize what the reading passage and what the listening passage said. Okay? Easy. No more than that. Let's continue. Now, the body. What about the body? What do you have to do in the body? Let me show you. My body. In the body, you have simply, okay, to do this, the following. Read this with me. It says, firstly, in the reading passage, it is claimed that, and nevertheless, in the presentation, here, presentation means, of course, listening presentation, maybe it's important for you to, of course, make the difference here. In the listening presentation, it is not like that. So, what are you going to do in the body? You are simply going to begin to, point by point, made in the reading passage and in the lecture, demonstrate what is the relationship of these both materials. Let me show you something. In almost every single time for this particular task, the reading passage and the listening passage are going to contradict each other. It happens, I would say, 90% of the time that the reading passage contradicts the lecture and the lecture contradicts the reading passage. So the situation you're going to find yourselves in is that you're going to have to write down what the reading passage said about this positively and what then the lecture contradicted, because it's always like that. The lecture contradicts what the reading passage said. Okay, so what you're going to do is, for example, firstly, in the reading passage, it is claimed that. Let me show you an example. Remember here, our topic is that the reading passage argue that in-person classes are better than online classes, and on the contrary, the lecture said that online classes are better than in-person classes. Okay, so let me show you how you should do it. I don't know what it says. Sorry. So, firstly, in the reading passage, it is claimed that in-person classes do not offer the opportunity to have personal time with professors. As you can see, I am simply stating what the what the reading passage said as a first point. In the reading passage, it is claimed that in-person classes do not offer the opportunity to have personal time with professors. And I compliment, of course, right? Therefore, the students having online classes have the harmful effect of considering their professors as mere robots. Okay? As you can see, I am expressing what was the first point of the reading passage. That was that in-person classes do not offer the opportunity to have personal time with professors. Okay? So you can see. Now, let's move on. What do you have to do later? I'm going to also highlight here with green. You're going to move on to say what the listening passage said. In this case, show you, nevertheless, in the listening presentation, it is noted that, and let me show you the example. Nevertheless, in the lecture or the presentation, it's the same, right? This is simply a word. It is noted that professors actually have a better communication with their students. As you can see, I am following the template, right? I am stating, first of all, what the reading passage argue positively, excuse me, in this case, negatively, right? What the reading passage claimed negatively against in-person classes, and I'm simply later noticing how said that the lecture mentioned that actually professors don't have a worse communication with their students, but that they have a better communication with their students. That is to say, online classes offer you to have a conversation with your teachers that stays attached to the area of interest. Okay, as you can see, I am complimented. I am simply complimenting here. Okay, so that is the idea. As you can see, it's not difficult. So I want to correct here. Or okay, with this one are not better classes. Yes, perfect. Yeah, perfect. That's it. That's it. Oh no, here the word that is wrong, it's online because it was confusing. Okay, now. Oh no, it's okay. I'm sorry, my mistake. Okay, wonderful. Let's continue. So it says now. Secondly, in the reading excerpt, it is pointed out that exactly the same. You simply mention what the reading passage said, right? Notice. Secondly, in the reading passage, it is pointed out that, as you can see, and you move on, right? The reading passage claims notwithstanding, you continue. So you can see here. Secondly, in the reading excerpt, it is pointed out that the reading passage claims notwithstanding that the professor, you simply say, first of all, the opinion or the material in the reading passage, and you move on to explain later and oppose that with what the lecturer said, no more than that. Okay, it's super simple. And as a conclusion, what do you have to say? Conclusion, let me show you. As a conclusion, you simply have to write down, well, for example, some people as a conclusion like to summarize everything again, or other people simply as a conclusion finalize with the third argument or the third point made in the lecture and the reading passage. In this case, I recommend you to simply continue, like not to include something again of your own, right? That is to say, not to include your opinion or not to include something external to the essay. Simply attach yourself to all the points made in the lecture and in the reading passage. Okay, as a conclusion, it's simply that continue making this comparison. In the reading section, it is stated that. On the other hand, in the presentation, it is mentioned that, and you continue. Okay, is there any question about this? Anything you want me to clarify, or is it clear? Please tell me anything, or it's clear the idea here. I listen to you. How are we? Is this understandable? Okay, Carlos, please.
So, teacher, you're saying that we're only gonna have like 2 ideas to explain? I mean, for the body paragraph?
Yeah, I mean, no, it could be more than 2, but nevertheless, if you have like that's what I was saying actually. If you have a third one, you should use that as your conclusion, because you say, well, thirdly or finally, the reading passage says this, and the listening passage argues the contrary, right? And you explain. If there are just 2, you just write down 2. If there is a third one, of course, you're going to say finally, right? And that is going to be your conclusion. But imagine that the second point is the last one. So here you could say finally, right? Do you understand now?
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other question? Any other thing you want me to clarify? Please tell me. With pleasure, I'm going to help you. Or it's clear what you have to do. Introduction, body, conclusion. No more than that. Anything? Yes, please. Marines?
Yes, in the conclusion part, we can like do a summary, like for the points, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you want, you can add something like a conclusion in summarizing everything. Like, for example, let me write down here a conclusion for our topic. If you want, right? As I said, this is optional. You can simply, as a conclusion, also simply write down the second point or the third point of your materials. Nonetheless, if you want to add something more, yeah, Marina, say it.
Our opinion, right? We don't need to.
Yeah, no opinion. Yes, definitely. Nothing external. Nevertheless, you could simply say something like, in summary or finally, right? Finally, if you want, this is optional. Finally, as we have seen, right? As we remind not to use contractions. We have seen the reading passage argues positively in favor of, I don't know, in favor of online classes, excuse me, in favor of online classes against the objections of the listening item. That's it. You can write out that if you want as a conclusion. It's okay. I mean, you're simply repeating, right? As it's exactly what I told you when we were practicing for the speaking section. Some of you were always, implementing at the end of your responses, and those are the reasons why I consider that this is the case. Something like that, right? I mean, you are not adding anything new to your essay. In this case, maybe it is beneficial because it is going to give you some extra words. Maybe you want to include it. But nonetheless, I don't think that your reviewer is going to considerably give you something higher because you are adding that, because as I say, it's irrelevant, but you can. Fine. Yes, Marines, it is okay? It's clear?
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, so any other question, any other thing you want me to clarify? Here or no, any other thing? Nothing? Okay, so before we finish, I want to show you this again. No, actually, I want to go. Okay, let me show you the following. Okay, before we finish, I want you to go. I want you to get rest today, having seen how this looks like in the actual exam. Okay, so let's go to writing in the to the integrated essay, answer question. Okay, for example, let me show you. This is going to be, look at my screen. This is going to be, as you can see, your reading passage. If you see it's larger, right? That's what I told you, that now you have 3 minutes to read it. Okay, imagine this is your reading passage. This is the first thing you're going to receive. Okay, you receive this, you have 3 minutes to read it, and then the screen is going to immediately and automatically move on to the listening part. Let me show you, and then you're going to listen to the lecture, right, like this.
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic you just read about.
Wonderful. You finish to read, and then again, automatically, it's going to pop up the following. Now type your essay in the provided into the provided editor. Summarize the points made in the lecture you just heard. Okay. Now, as you can see, on the left side of your screen, you're going to have what? You're going to have the reading passage. Again, you can read it if you want. As I told you, this is going to be available for you to write. Here, this is exactly as the exam looks like. You're going to have your box, your response box, and you're going to write down, right? As I was saying, the reading passage leads off with the idea of, right, as you can see, nothing here. Imagine that I wrote down this incorrectly. Let's say with, well, in this case, it's obviously going to correct me, I guess, or not. No, it doesn't correct me. Okay, look at this. I am writing down the word, oh no, in this case, it does correct me, but it's because I have Grammarly, okay? But in the real exam, of course, this is not going to happen. This is because of Grammarly. Doesn't matter, okay? So, as you can see, this is going to be the script. You're going to have here on the left side your reading passage. You're going to have the capacity to read it again if you want to remind some detail, but you're going to have here your box. You're going to write down everything. And as you can see here, you have the count. And to this point, I have written how many words? 11. And if I continue, for example, hey, I have 12. And if I continue, I have 13. Okay, that is going to be available for you to see as well. Nonetheless, in the real exam, you're going to be able to hide it too. Okay, you're going to have the option to hide this so that you don't see it. If you want, maybe this bothers you, great. You simply press the button of hide, and you're going to hide it. Okay, that is as you can see. Okay, and as I was saying, if you finish before your 20 minutes, you can press. There's going to be a button here at the top that says next. If you have finished your essay, you consider it's wonderful. You don't want to spend more time there doing anything. Press next, and then it's going to move on to what? To the other test. In this case, this is a practice for the first test only. Okay. But any question with regard to the format? Anything maybe you want me to clarify here? How it's going to look like? Anything? Something? No, anything? Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to, if you don't have more questions, I'm going to take the assistance, and please help me with our tradition, the anonymous poll. Okay, so I'm going to continue now, and I'm going to take. So please, when I call out your name, say present. Okay, and I'm going to sheets. Let me show you. Okay. It said here, Caballero Lopez, Carlos.
Yes, teacher, here.
Wonderful, thank you. Marines, Genesis.
Here, teacher.
Thank you. What about Conicia, Carolina?
Here, present.
Okay, thank you very much. What about Yandira, Lisette?
Present.
Thank you very much. Bonnie, Daira? It's Bonnie over here. Okay, think she's not. And now this one. What about Claudia Guzman?
Yes, teacher, here.
Thank you very much, Claudia. What about Mamani Laura? Choque? I saw her over here. Is there Claudia? Okay, wonderful.
Teacher, do you hear me? Present. I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't worry, it's fine. I got you. What about Chayapa Alvaro?
Here, teacher.
Thank you very much. What about Gutierrez Jessica? Okay, Jessica's not here. And finally, Miguel Angel Silva.
I'm here, teacher.
Thank you very much, Miguel. So now tomorrow we're going to practice, okay? There's going to be a very interesting way to practice this, and you're going to enjoy it as much as I will. I'm sure of it, okay? So please, tomorrow, your homework. Carlos, you have a question? I think your hand.
Yes, teacher, I have a question. What happened if we write in, I mean, what happened if we write a word in British and then another word in American? Because I think that my writing, is a mix of both.
Great. I don't know. I mean, well, in this case, these people know that people from around the world take this exam. They are aware that sometimes this type of mixture happens, so it's not a problem. The only thing that I would strongly recommend you is try to always improve your grammar. If your grammar is correct, they are going to value it. I mean, it's not a problem if you write something in the British manner or in the American manner, even in the Australian manner, because many people have learned through Australian English. Good, it's fine. Don't worry. The grammar here is the important thing. The vocabulary, as I say, fancy words, advanced words. As you have that, you're done. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so thank you very much, dear students. Have a wonderful night, and I see you tomorrow. Okay, have your American keyboard, please. That is my recommendation. Have your American keyboard tomorrow prepared. Okay, go to the settings of your computer, change keyboard to Spanish, and move it to American keyboard. Okay, we're gonna practice with that. Okay, thank you very much. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you so much, teacher. Bye.
All right, bye bye.
Teacher.
Bye, teacher. Bye.
Bye bye.